Welcome back to another episode of the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Couples Retreat.
Couples Retreat. We're back in our sort of rom-com, raunchy comedy era.
Yes, would this be considered a sex comedy?
That's a good question. I bet it would.
We're calling back to our very first episode for the OGs, but don't go listen to it because it's probably embarrassing now.
I will not be listening to it again.
No, I will not.
Okay, so the logline for this movie is: 4 couples, all friends, descend on a tropical island resort. Though one husband and wife are there to work on their marriage, the others just want to enjoy some fun in the sun. They soon find, however, that paradise comes at a price. Participation in couples therapy sessions is mandatory. What started out as a cut-rate vacation turns into an examination of the common problems many face. Was this your first time watching this movie?
I didn't think so, because I have seen, it's one of those movies that's on TV a lot, and so anyone I know with cable, this is like the movie that's always on in the background. So I think I've seen every bit of this movie, but I don't know if I've ever seen it all the way through until now.
And what were your thoughts?
Complicated. If this is someone's favorite movie, I do not want to say that I hate it, because I do not. I don't even think I would say I dislike it. I just think that it's reminiscent of a lot of comedies from around this time, especially like buddy comedies and the ones that had all the big actors in it, like this one does, where the humor just didn't age well. And if you're watching it from a lens of nostalgia, I think you probably have a different opinion on it than I would. But yeah, what do you think?
I like this movie because it is nostalgic for me, but I definitely had that little ping in the back of my head where I'm like, I actually don't feel like I'm objective enough to tell if this aged okay.
Well, that's good. We have each other.
So I'm happy to have your opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would love for you to make me like it more because I do like the actors in this movie a lot.
I like a couple of the couples are like particularly cute or funny to me, so we can talk about them. But first, something that I did think was interesting and maybe why he felt like this was giving very buddy comedy is because it was written by Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
Which makes a lot of sense. It was also written by Dana Fox, and she wrote The Lost City, Cruella, How to Be Single, and What Happens in Vegas. So there is like a female touch there, but there is largely Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, which I feel like comes through.
Yeah, it does. This was also directed by Peter Billingsley, aka Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Whoa. We've talked about him.
Yeah, in our Elf episode, we talked about how him and Jon Favreau are friends. So it makes sense they did this movie together.
This does make sense. And this movie came out in 2009, and it was filmed at the St. Regis in Bora Bora. Apparently
at the St. Regis, they have a channel that plays this movie on repeat.
I love that.
Although if you asked me, I thought that this movie played on repeat anyway at the people's houses who have cable.
You're like, they don't even need to put it on. It will just come on its own.
Just going back to what I said earlier about disliking this movie, I think...
She's backpedaling.
I think what it is about this movie is I don't like any of the men in it. And I'm not trying to be a man hater. But I just think that in all of these relationships, the common thread is that most of the men are toxic in some way, especially Jon Favreau's character.
Yep. I hate him in this movie, actually.
I can't stand him, and so I then lump all the other boys in there with him. I feel like the women all deserve better in their relationships, and we'll get into it, but the ending was not a satisfying ending to me, where I felt like everyone understood each other and we were having better relationships.
That's a fair takeaway. The men are all bad. All the men are bad. That can be the title. Yeah, that is actually such a good point. By the end, you realize all of the women are just trying to survive their relationships with these horrible men. And so I actually think this movie would hold up a lot better if there was one couple. Like if we followed one couple and they went on this retreat, or even 2, and we saw then at the end one couple like decide to split up and one couple decide to stay together and they like had really changed.
Yeah.
But I think because the focus of this movie is like to be a group comedy, we lose the like evolution of the couples in exchange.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Because there's so many people in the movie that we're like getting so many stories constantly and so many jokes that if you're looking for like a feel good, satisfying movie, this is not that. If you're looking for like a casual laugh, I think this could work.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's well said.
That is the problem with the movie that I like could not put my finger on. Like the women are actually doing the most and the men are all like, nothing's wrong with me.
Yeah, even by the end. I think they're like, well, I just don't like home redecorating. And I'm like, bug up.
I know. I would say these are definitely like, oh, this is going to sound bad. This is not what I mean. It is what I mean. Like they're older men. Like they're not like modern men, you know? Like it's giving our parents and grandparents' generation of humor of like the old ball and chain, you know?
Yes.
This would not be like a really funny movie to come out in theaters right now.
Right. I don't think this would make anybody want to get married. That's for sure.
No, not any women.
No. Or men, honestly.
Yeah. But the cast is actually great, especially the women in the cast. So we're going to talk about everybody and we're going to talk about them one couple at a time so you guys can picture who's together in this movie. The first person we're going to talk about is Vince Vaughn. He plays Dave and he's in everything. You guys know him. He's in Dodgeball, Wedding Crashers, The Breakup, Four Christmases, The Internship. I actually usually think he's funny, whereas like Jon Favreau in this movie, I hate. He is kind of a doofus idiot dad in this movie, and he sucks, especially in a few scenes. But in general, I think Vince Vaughn in different comedies is pretty funny.
I thought he was fine in this one. Yeah.
So I read that he became friends with Jon Favreau in the 90s after they both were in their first films, and then they both did Swingers together in 1996. And that is what like shot them into popularity. So I think it was interesting to read that they both had a very similar journey and have been friends for a long time.
I didn't know that. I don't think I would have picked out Vince Vaughn as Jon Favreau's friend.
No, me either. They're also in my brain, and we'll talk about this when we get to him, are like two eras of Jon Favreau. There's like this kind of silly comedy early 2000s era, and then there's the like very... maybe prolific is like giving him too much credit, but like very successful director, producer, Jon Favreau that like does all the Avengers movies and Star Wars and The Mandalorian and like all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The live action Lion King, like so many things. And those to me are two people.
Yeah, he had an evolution. He had a glow up.
Definitely. Okay, so back to Vince Vaughn. He dated Jennifer Aniston from 2005 to 2006 after they filmed The Breakup together, and he ended up suing several tabloids in 2006 after the tabloids alleged that he was cheating on Jennifer.
Really?
Yeah. And they broke up in 2006, so I don't know if they maybe broke up because of the rumors or like all of the press, and so then he sued them. I don't know.
The press really sucked in the early 2000s.
Yeah. The tabloid culture was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
He is, however, married now. He got married to a Canadian realtor named Kyla Weber in 2010, and they have two kids named Lachlan and Vernon, and they were born in 2010 and 2013.
Nice. Good for him.
And this is not good. He was arrested for suspected drunk driving in 2018. I think it ended up getting pled down or something, but you hate to see it.
Yeah. Should we talk about Malin Akerman, who plays Ronnie, his wife?
Yes. So you guys probably know her as Tess from 27 Dresses. She plays Katherine Heigl's sister. She's also in The Proposal as Gertie, who is like Ryan Reynolds' high school love interest in Alaska. She's also in The Heartbreak Kid, Watchmen, Billions, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and so many more things. And this was interesting. She was born in Stockholm, and a lot of her family still lives there, but then she was raised in Toronto, Canada.
Cool.
And she started doing TV commercials really young at age 5, and then she became a runway model in her late teens in Europe. And then she actually decided that she wanted to go to school to become a child psychologist and enrolled in college, but then was offered a guest role on a TV show and decided instead to go back to acting.
That's a cool story.
Mm-hmm. And she is married to fellow actor Jack Donnelly. I didn't recognize him, but if you guys do, let me know. And they have a 3-year-old son together named Sebastian.
Yay. I loved her in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was one of my favorite characters.
I think she is my favorite. I like her and Kristen Bell.
I was going to say that too. Mm-hmm. And then we have Jon Favreau, who plays Joey.
We talked about him before, but he is a famous writer, producer, actor, director. He produced The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, the updated live-action Lion King, the updated live-action Jungle Book, all of the Avengers movies, and the movie Chef, which I love that movie. He's also in that movie.
I feel like that's the one that really launched his director career. That one I just remember getting a ton of awards.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. He's also in Elf. He plays the doctor that like gives Buddy the finger prick and then he eats the cotton ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's also Happy Hogan in all the Avengers and Iron Man movies. He's in The Wolf of Wall Street. He's in I Love You Man. And this is my favorite of all the Jon Favreau projects, the Chef show. It's a show based on the movie Chef. but it's like a docu-series show where Jon Favreau and a chef named Roy Choi, who I believe is the chef that taught him like how to look like a chef for the movie Chef, became really good friends. And they started this sort of docu-series where they go around to restaurants across the country and they learn how to make the food there. And they like talk about movies and stuff. Like they did one episode at The Optimist, which is like a famous seafood place in Atlanta. And they invite a bunch of the Avengers cast because they were filming there. Anyway, it's a good show if you like food shows.
I love food shows. You just unlocked a memory. I'm pretty sure I've seen that show.
It's super good.
Yeah.
And he married Joya Tillum, who is a doctor, in 2000, and they're still together. And they have a son named Max.
I love that. I love when a celebrity relationship endures time in the 21st century.
Me too. And this is kind of crazy. As I was researching him, I learned that Obama's speechwriter was also named Jon Favreau.
But not the same one.
Not the same Jon Favreau, different Jon Favreau.
But if your name is Jon Favreau, you might be a writer of some sort.
Yeah.
It's just your calling.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then we have Kristen Davis, who plays Lucy.
Who's married to Joey, Jon Favreau. And you guys know Kristen because she is Charlotte from Sex and the City. And she's in everything. She's in the Sex and the City show, the movies, and Just Like That, the reboot. She's done a bunch of other things too, but I feel like that's the main thing you guys will know her from. And I loved this. She has 2 adopted kids named Gemma and Wilson. And she says she has no intention of ever getting married.
Wow.
Which kind of reminds me of Shonda Rhimes. She talks about that in her book. How she's just like, my career is important to me and my kids are important to me and that I don't have time for anything else.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah.
Do you think that she did this movie and decided that she never wanted to get married?
After being fake married to Joey and being completely horrible.
She was like, he sucks. I don't want a husband.
She's like, this is why. This is exactly why.
And then we have a fave of the pod, Jason Bateman, who plays Jason.
Guys, when Jenny and I were talking about starting this podcast, we're going to have to do a Jason Bateman episode like once a month.
We actually planned it that we would have the Jason Bateman episode every month. I don't know how we were thinking we were going to sustain that for multiple years.
I have no idea. And this is our first one, I think.
Oh, no, Juno.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So he's an actor and director. He's known for Ozark, Arrested Development, Horrible Bosses, The Switch, which that's one of my favorites with Jennifer Aniston, Zootopia, Identity Thief, Game Night. It goes on and on. He also has a very successful podcast named Smartless that he hosts with 2 of his best friends, Will Arnett, who's Amy Poehler's ex-husband, and Sean Hayes.
Wait, can I just say I love that you just called Will Arnett Amy Poehler's ex-husband?
That's the context for the girls. That's what you need to know. He is also very famous, obviously, but
that was funny. I love it.
So Jason is married to Amanda Anka, who is an actor and producer, and they have 2 girls together, Francesca, who they call Franny, and Maple.
Maple is a cute celebrity name.
Mm-hmm. Maple Bateman. I think it sounds too much like Maple Bacon to me, but but it is cute. It is really cute. Sometimes she'll like pop her head into the podcast and Jason will be like, "Hi, Mapes." It's like very cute.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying about Maple Bacon.
Oh my gosh, I just Googled Maple Bateman, and the first thing that comes up is, why is Jason Bateman's daughter named Maple?
Well, I do think it's a really cute name. Still, I stand by what I said, but it just hit my funny bone. And then we have Kristen Bell, who plays Cynthia.
Mm-hmm. And Kristen Bell is married to Jason Bateman in the movie. You guys know Kristen Bell from Veronica Mars, Frozen, The Good Place, Bad Moms, When in Rome. All of these people are so famous. Like, I could not list everything, but those are the things I think you guys will know her from the most. She actually went to NYU for musical theater, but she dropped out a few credits shy of graduating because she was offered a role in the Broadway musical version of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So she left to start her career a little bit early.
I didn't know she was on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I knew that she could sing. Frozen, duh.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of people knew until she did Frozen, because she mostly did Veronica Mars and comedies and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's kind of circled back and now obviously is famous for Frozen. And she married Dax Shepard in 2013, and they have 2 daughters named Lincoln and Delta.
I think I'm kind of obsessed with celebrity baby names.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't judge them. I think if you're a celebrity, you can name your kid whatever you want, and these are good ones. I like it.
Yeah, they're funky.
And then we have Faison Love, who plays Shane.
So he's a comedian that has done a bunch of movies, including The Meteor Man, Don't Be a Menace, Friday, Just My Luck, and what I know him from is Elf. He is the store manager.
That's what I know him from.
Yes. You guys will know him. He's the one that like is the manager of Buddy and Jovi when they like work in the kids store in the mall. His father was in the Navy, and so he was actually born in Cuba and grew up in San Diego. He like calls himself a military brat, so I assume he like grew up on a base or something.
Or moved around a lot or something.
Mm-hmm. He actually started doing stand-up comedy and acting in plays at age 15, so very young.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like we can't usually talk about men in Hollywood without talking about negative things that have come out about them. And this is no exception. So he was caught up in a lot of controversy because he made a lot of tweets defending Bill Cosby and using slurs against Bill Cosby's accusers. And then he was also arrested in 2017 for misdemeanor assault for like basically trying to beat up a valet driver.
Oh, no, we don't love that. That's just so messy to like get on Twitter defending Bill Cosby. What are you thinking?
It's not a good look.
No. Ugh. And then we have Kaylee Hawk, who plays Trudy.
And she was in 50 Shades of Black, New Girl. She plays Shelby. Bridesmaids, Get Him to the Greek, and more. And I think she's so good in this movie. She plays Shane, Faison's girlfriend. And she was actually a child prodigy. So she started high school at age 12 and then was accepted into SUNY at 16, which is an arts university in New York. And then she did plays in New York before she ended up moving to LA and becoming a model and starting to do commercials and get into acting.
That's crazy. So she was a prodigy actor? Is that kind of what they... Or like, was it music?
No, I think it was just she was really smart and she skipped a lot of grades.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of funny that in this movie she plays kind of the ditzy girlfriend, young 20-year-old character.
When in reality she's like a genius.
A genius.
Yeah.
I love that. Should we get into the movie?
Let's do it. So the movie opens to Dave, played by Vince Vaughn, waking up in bed and rolling over to find his son, who is wide awake, staring him in the face and says, "I peed."
Classic.
And so Dave carries him downstairs where Ronnie, his wife, played by Malin Akerman, and his other son are having breakfast. And the younger son, I believe his name is Kevin, apologizes for peeing the bed. And Dave says, "Don't worry, it'll happen again your freshman year of college." And then Ronnie reminds Dave that they're going to pick out tile today, and it's important to her that he comes.
In the car, Dave's friend Shane, played by Faison Love, calls Dave because he needs him to co-sign the new motorbike he's getting to impress his 20-year-old girlfriend, Trudy, played by Kaylee Hawk. And Trudy yells, "Daddy, what's taking so long?" across the dealership. And everyone looks, and Shane asks her not to call him that in public.
You can tell Shane is like embarrassed of the entire situation, but also he's trying to be cool. Like he's so committed to trying to be cool that he like lets it happen.
Also, it's so interesting to me that they are making it out that one of the problems that's going to follow him throughout the movie is that he doesn't have money. And then they never bring this up again. They go on a really expensive trip. It's never brought up again besides this moment.
That's a really good point. I totally did not even notice that.
I was gearing up for it. I was like, okay, this is going to become a problem later on. And it wasn't. So, okay then. Shane confesses that he really misses his wife on the phone to Dave, but she's not coming back, and the motorcycle is something that he's doing for him.
At the tile store, Ronnie is trying to get Dave's opinion about tile, and you can tell it's really important to her because they're doing a renovation on their house, and he's just completely uninterested. He's like taking calls from his friends. Joey, played by Jon Favreau, and Jason, played by Jason Bateman, both end up calling him, and Jason invites him over for a PowerPoint presentation. And while he's walking around the store and on the phone with his friends, he looks over to find his younger son, Kevin. This is the same one that peed the bed earlier, peeing in a display toilet in the store.
What would you even do?
I would die immediately on embarrassment.
Same. I don't know what you would do.
I don't know.
Then we go to Joey and Lucy's house. This is Jon Favreau and Kristen Davis. And Joey gets mad at their teenage daughter, Lacey, for wearing what he would call skimpy clothes. And we find out that she just got into Stanford. I think this is the last we see of her, too.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Lacey leaves the room, Joey and Lucy start arguing about who's supposed to send the tuition check to Stanford. And they make a comment about how they only have to deal with each other for a few more months until she leaves.
I think something they're trying to do in this movie is depict 4, quote, common couples of the early 2000s. Like you have the divorced guy with the young girlfriend. You have the like average family in Dave and Ronnie. And then you have this like couple that's like staying together just for the kids until they get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Jason and Cynthia, who we'll talk about in a second. We cut to this quick scene of Shane and Trudy where Trudy has tied Shane up and is pouring wax on him. And I think, again, the point of this is like to attempt to endear us to Shane, because you can tell Shane is not into any of this, but he's like really trying to be cool and get over his ex-wife because his ex-wife is the one that left him. And then we see Jason and Cynthia. Cynthia is played by Kristen Bell, and they're working on making their presentation perfect, and we don't know what it's for yet.
They are so funny. They're such a funny couple to me.
I guess they're like the couple without kids.
Yeah, the uptight type A couple.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Ronnie and Dave's son's birthday party, and Jason and Cynthia let the other couples know that they set a screen upstairs for their presentation.
I would kill.
I immediately thought MLM. Everyone is obviously hesitant, but when the presentation starts, Jason and Cynthia very matter-of-factly tell everyone that they are seriously considering getting a divorce. Their infertility journey has been really taxing, and they're not sure they're the right fit for each other anymore. They present this divorce recovery timeline, which means that if they get divorced now, they're at least 3 years away from having a child with a new partner, which means that they better split up soon, which is just sad.
It is sad. It's like very jarring. I cannot imagine some of my best friends being like, this is the reality of what's happening.
But here's the way we logicked this situation that can't be logicked in this way.
Right.
Dave says, sounds like you guys are really working from the heart on this one.
And so in the presentation, they pitch Eden, which is this couple's resort. And Cynthia and Jason say they can't afford it on their own, but if they all go as a group, they get half off. Nobody commits, obviously. I feel like this is a lot of information to take in. But then that night, Ronnie and Dave talk about how they never got to take a honeymoon because Dave had to get a job right away so they could move out of Dave's dad's basement after they got married.
In the middle of the night, Ronnie and Dave think that they hear someone breaking into their house, but it's just Jason. There's this scene where Dave grabs his gun and he really thinks there is an intruder coming in, and then it's just Jason and he's like, I could have blown your head off. And Jason's like, I think that says more about you than it does about me, or something to that effect. It just made me laugh.
Yeah.
And then Jason sits down with Dave and tells him how he's losing his mind because of everything going on with Cynthia. And he says, I've never asked you for anything, but I'm asking you for this, Dave. Then Ronnie and Dave's sons come downstairs and say that they want them to go on the trip. They heard their parents say they couldn't go because of them, and they don't want their parents to get divorced. Ronnie reassures them that they're happy and they're not going to get a divorce, but the boys say that they already called Grandpa to come take care of them.
I think this is so cute, though, that the boys are like concerned and they called Grandpa.
And it's just the older boy who did all of this because the other one is just too small to even know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Oldest child behavior.
Definitely relatable. And the doorbell rings, and Jason says, you've got a lot of parenting to do tonight. I'm gonna go. However, I will take the fact that Grandpa Jim Jim is at the door as a firm, tentative yes.
And then we cut to these beautiful shots of paradise. There's blue water, there's boats, there's islands. So obviously the group decided to go. And they pull up on a boat to this big sign that says Eden Resort. And immediately getting off the boat, Joey is flirting with a group of younger women who say that they're there with the San Diego Dance Academy, to which I roll. And then he finds out that those girls are going to Eden East, whereas Joey and his group are going to Eden West.
I just like him so much.
Me too. He's like the slimiest, most gross boy I've ever seen on TV.
Yes. Most gross boy. He can't even be called a man. They all check into their villas, and the rooms are really beautiful, and they can see the ocean and fish through the floors, and they all have these decks over the ocean. It's actually really stunning. It seems like it would be a great place to have this kind of couples retreat situation. As they're getting settled, Joey asks how he can get over to the singles area of the resort, Eden East, but he's told that he's not allowed to leave the couple's side. He's so gross, right in front of his wife.
I know. I hate him. At dinner that night, Dave says he's looking forward to sleeping in the next morning, but then their host gives them their itinerary, which starts with couples skill building at 6 o'clock in the morning. Jason and Cynthia, during their original presentation, had told everybody that they could pick whatever activities they wanted to do, but this is where the group finds out that that's not actually true. So all of the couples will have to do the couples skill building, since the purpose of Eden West is helping to repair marriages. And everybody is pissed. But then we see them have this amazing night where the food is incredible and the drinks are incredible and they're all enjoying vacation. So they're a couple hours of skill building, whatever. We'll stay.
In the morning, the couples do go to skill building, and they have to line up in front of each other and get undressed.
This is so weird. Why?
It is every activity that they do is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me.
I agree.
This is a sham.
Yeah, this is not real skill building.
No, not real couples therapy. Shane says that undressing isn't an option for him because he isn't wearing underwear, but they tell him that he needs to let it all hang out because this is an exercise where they're all supposed to accept themselves and each other's bodies. And by each other, I mean just their partner.
Right. They're like standing across from their partner.
Yeah, but it is weird that they're all together at the same time.
Yeah.
And when he still won't take off his pants, Marcel, the guy who runs the program, has Trudy take off Shane's pants for him. And when they finish their body appreciation exercise, we then see all the couples go to therapy.
And this is where we see each of them talk about their main issue. So we see Jason and Cynthia talk about their fertility struggles and kind of how Jason especially is always trying to control every situation and the outcome. Then we see Ronnie and Dave talk about how much Dave works, and we can tell that Ronnie feels really underappreciated and kind of taken for granted. And then we see Joey and Lucy acting like their relationship is perfect and just not speaking to each other at all because they have already basically resigned in their minds that they're about to get a divorce. So you can tell they're just sort of checked out.
I think we also see Shane in this scene, and he's just talking about his divorce with his wife while Trudy is next to him. And his therapist is like, "Oh, is this your wife?" And he's like, "No, this is my girlfriend." Then that night in their room, Joey and Lucy aren't talking as usual. And while Lucy goes off to shower, Joey folds one of the eat-in brochures to look at this hot girl, and he gets ready to jerk off. And right as he's about to, this hotel employee comes in with room service that Lucy ordered, and Joey tries to pass it off like he was just lotioning his stomach because of his sunburn. And then Joey goes over to the window, and he can see the Eden East party from his room. He's so gross. I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
The model in the photo that they used, her name is Irina Krupnik. And she actually sued NBC Universal for $10 million in March 2010 for publishing her likeness in a vulgar context.
Wow.
So she didn't even know that her photo was being used.
That sucks.
It sucks. And a judge ruled against her, so she didn't win.
Oh, that sucks more.
Can you imagine your photo being used in a movie in this way without being told, without being paid?
No, especially because there are probably a lot of women and models who like would be happy to do that if they were paid appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fact that they used somebody's photo without their consent sucks.
You just used a random photo. And maybe, maybe I'm getting the facts wrong. Maybe she did know her photo was in the movie, but she didn't know in what context.
Yeah.
But
still, you have to explain the context. That sucks. So the next day, the couples are swimming around in the ocean, and Marcel is directing them to throw fish into the ocean to attract wildlife. This should have been immediately obvious to everyone that they were trying to get sharks near them, right?
I think so.
Okay. So Ronnie and Dave, who, in my opinion, I feel like seemed the strongest before their vacation, are each separately talking to their friends about their issues that their therapist pointed out the day before. Because you get the sense that, like, they were happy enough, like they weren't necessarily trying to work on anything, and then the therapist is pointing out all these things, particularly that are unfair to Ronnie. And Ronnie mentions this to Cynthia, and Cynthia is like, "Oh, honey, that's just Dave being Dave." Which, ouch, I hate that.
I do too.
Like, I hate that she's dismissing, like, "Oh, but that's just Dave being himself." But then also to be like, that must be so hard for Ronnie to then be like, "Wow, everybody else knows that my partner takes me for granted." And it's just like part of our relationship.
It's like, oh, he's a good guy, so you should just be content that he's like a good guy, good dad, and he loves you.
Mm-hmm.
No. Then Dave and Jason see sharks, and they yell to Marcel that they have a problem. And he's like, "It's not a problem, it's the circle of life." And one of them says, "Well, the circle of life is circling our lives right now."
So then as Jason is panicking, he accidentally dumps the bucket of blood and fish onto Dave as he like swims back to the boat. And so then Dave freaks out because he's still out in the middle of the ocean, now surrounded by blood. And Marcel directs him back to the boat slowly. And as Dave is swimming, he's like, "Save yourselves, go to shore." But then Ronnie from the boat is like, "There's no sharks around you anymore, babe. It's okay." Just being so dramatic.
Then Joey and Lucy go for a couples massage, but they ask to be separated. Meanwhile, Shane and Trudy go for a bike ride through the jungle. At their massages, both Lucy and Joey are trying to flirt with the massage therapists. While Joey is getting massaged, he gets a boner, and his massage therapist says that is not going to have a happy ending. And she leaves, thankfully. I'm actually really glad she stood up for herself in that moment.
Me too.
Because also I was thinking this is so icky for like massage therapists who are literally just trying to do their job. For you to be like sexualizing them and objectifying them. Ugh, gross. Meanwhile, Lucy learns that her massage therapist is gay and has a husband, so this makes her sad.
That night, the couples go to this pig roast dinner on the beach, and Dave will not stop whining about how he got attacked by a shark. And obviously, nobody believes him because they watched it, and he only has this tiny scrape on his leg. And then he says he wants to go back to the room to recover, and Ronnie is disappointed because they were supposed to go to the waterfall for some romantic alone time. And Dave gets mad because he doesn't think that she's taking his shark injury seriously, and he storms off to their room.
Well, he hasn't been taking her desire to see the waterfall seriously this whole time.
Yeah, it's sad.
And then the next day in therapy, everyone is fighting. Trudy's mad that Shane is tired all the time. Also, she is putting him through these huge physical challenges.
Yeah, like a mountain biking.
Yeah. Ronnie feels neglected because Dave wouldn't go to the waterfall last night. Lucy and Joey's therapist tries to teach them how to talk to each other again, but they just start yelling at each other.
And then Marcel tells the group it's very important that they meet at the dock before sunrise the next morning, and that they can't stay out late that night or eat or drink too late. Then their couple's yoga is going to start, and their yoga teacher comes out of the water, and all of the women love him immediately, obviously. He's like ripped and has long hair and is wearing a Speedo. It's like giving Tarzan, kind of. And he says, "Allow me to put on something more proper," and then puts on this just slightly larger Speedo.
And the yoga teacher, Salvatore, takes a special interest in Ronnie because her file said she's practiced yoga for 5 years. And he starts teaching them a bunch of weird sexual stretches.
This is my least favorite part of the whole movie. It's so weird.
It's so weird. It's not yoga. He's putting his body on them. It's just creepy.
So then later that day, Shane runs up to the group to tell them that Trudy is gone. And he says that she thinks he left because they had an argument in therapy that day where she said that she's sick of his senior citizen bullshit.
Woof. And Joey says he thinks he knows where Trudy is. Eden East, the singles area. The group decide that they're all going to sneak to Eden East to get her. Jason is hesitant because they're supposed to go to bed early that night so they can be at sunrise on the dock. So
late that night, they all meet on the beach and they take canoes to try to get over to Eden East. And a huge thunderstorm hits as they're canoeing. And they like zoom out for a second and it literally looks like they're in the middle of the ocean. Like it is giving Moana when she like goes off by herself. They look so far from anywhere. And in the boat, Jason won't stop telling Cynthia what to do. So she jumps out and says that she's going to swim the rest of the way. And then when they get to shore, Cynthia and Jason have an argument. And Cynthia says that she needs space and she walks away. And then all the girls follow to comfort her. So now they're split up.
Then the girls on their own find this beautiful waterfall, and they have a moment together, and Cynthia says she thinks her marriage is over. She's so tired of Jason trying to steer everything in the direction that he wants.
So then as the guys walk, they all shit on Jason for suffocating Cynthia, especially Joey. But then Dave tells Joey that he's not exactly Mr. Tryhard at relationships, and he has no room to talk. So then in response, Joey tells Dave that he has an amazing wife that cares about him, and all she wanted was to go to the waterfall, and Dave couldn't even do that. So the boys are fighting.
Not good. At the waterfall, the girls see Salvatore swim to shore naked, and he gives them island rum, and Cynthia drinks a lot of it. Meanwhile, the guys stumble into the staff living area where some hotel employees are playing Guitar Hero. And the funny thing about this is that Dave sells Guitar Hero, and they're in trouble for being in the wrong place, and one of the employees tries to call Marcel. But Dave challenges him to Guitar Hero and acts like he's never played. And if he wins, they'll let them go and act like they never saw them. And then if the employee Stanley wins, he gets $1,000 in cash.
So then we go back to Salvatore and the girls, and Salvatore offers to take all the women to the island bar for dancing. Meanwhile, Dave is crushing Guitar Hero, and he ends up winning, so Stanley tells the guys how to get where they want to go.
And everyone gets to the party. And it's crazy. There's DJs, there's alcohol, there's people everywhere. It's the opposite of the couples side of the island. The singles side actually seems really fun, and I kind of wish that they had done more of that for the couples. I don't know why they were doing these weird exercises.
Totally.
The guys split up to look for Trudy, and Joey is so excited to be there that he starts taking shots. And Dave says, "What are you doing? Do you want to be part of this singles scene? Look at these people. They're running around, they're sexting, they're crumping, they're twatting each other." I think he means tweeting.
Yeah, he definitely meant tweeting. So then Dave ends up finding the girls, and he walks up to Ronnie and introduces himself. And he says, "Do you have a cell phone I can use? Someone's got to call God and tell him one of his angels is missing." And Ronnie says, "That is the worst line I've ever heard." And he says, "What can I say? I've been out of the game a while. I've been slumming it with a really hot redhead." And then he grabs Ronnie's hand and they leave together. And I actually think this is so cute.
I like that when he arrived to the singles part of the island, his first thought is like, ooh, I don't want to be a part of this. I miss my wife.
Mm-hmm. A redeeming nugget for Dave.
I think he's probably the best male character.
Mm-hmm. I think their relationship is meant to like be the most average, typical marriage where he gets really caught up in work and works a lot, and she gets stuck with a lot of the childcare and housework, and they're trying to like work through their resentment for that.
Agreed. While Jason and Shane are looking for Trudy, Shane spots Jennifer, his ex-wife. Jennifer is played by Tasha Smith, and she says that she heard at her salon that he was going to a crazy singles resort, and she came to find him before it was too late. Shane says he's actually staying on the couple's side with his girlfriend Trudy, who he suddenly sees yelling at the bar, getting alcohol poured in her mouth.
Found her. So then Trudy and Shane talk, and Trudy says that she's not going to go back to the couple's side with him. And they both admit that they've been trying to be people that they're just not, and they decide they should break up.
Which honestly, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Jason finds Cynthia at the fire dancing show, and he tries to tell her to come back. Cynthia says it's over and she's not going back with him. And Jason tells Cynthia how much he loves her and that he's never going to fail her again. He asks her to go get a drink, and it actually looks like she might be interested.
So then Shane confronts Jennifer, because you can tell that Jennifer is kind of there to win him back. And you get the sense that their divorce was caused by like Jennifer wanting Shane to change a lot of things. And so Shane says that he's not going to change because he likes himself. And Jennifer says, "Well, I don't like you. I love you." Which I like this for Shane.
Yeah, because he's been wanting her back this whole time. Ronnie and Dave hang out at the waterfall finally. They have their moment at the waterfall. And they have a great heart-to-heart about how they need to prioritize having more fun together. I do think this is kind of interesting because it's not let's prioritize each other's interests outside of work and that kind of thing. It's like, let's just prioritize having fun together. And I don't know if I agree.
Yeah. They're like, we should do this more. But like what we've seen of them doing this has not been great.
Yeah. I'm like still a little annoyed that he can't pick out tiles for their kitchen.
Mm-hmm. So then Joey's in a cabana with some of the San Diego girls, and then he sees Lucy dancing across the bar with Salvatore, and he freaks out. So he walks up to Salvatore and punches him in the face. And then Lucy and Joey start screaming at each other about how they've been cheating on each other. I'm not sure that they actually have been. This seems like almost something they're saying to like one-up each other.
I felt like that too, actually.
But then Joey tells Lucy that if she doesn't put in effort, she'll end up at Applebee's alone, which this is the same talk that Dave gave to Joey earlier. And Lucy says, "Are you asking me to go to Applebee's?" And then they make out.
I have so many problems with it.
I know.
They just don't need to be together at all.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's why this movie isn't satisfying for me. Like this, no, they needed to not end up together.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Then Jennifer apologizes that it took their divorce and trying to move on for her to realize what she had in Shane, and Shane says he never stopped loving her.
Then we see Cynthia and Jason at the bar, and they're drunk and talking and reminiscing about when they were dating. And they each say to each other, "You've been the best friend." To me, I thought when I watched this, and I've seen this movie a bunch, but when I watched them do this, I was like, wow, okay, one of the couples is not going to stay together. Like, it's going to be them. Like, this feels like they're actually coming to this healthy realization of, like, this has been a really good thing. But then we cut to them having sex in the supply closet or in their room. Like, Jason has, like, picked her up and they're, like, smashing into a bookcase, which, like, they've talked about how, like, passion and intimacy is something that's missing in their relationship. So I think that's the point, is that they're solving that. But that was a weird transition to me.
Yeah. I think the payoffs it almost seems like there were a lot of deleted scenes that didn't get added that would have given us more context for this part where all the couples are getting back together. Then the next morning, Marcel tells them that they didn't respect the program, but all the couples look so happy and everyone is hugging, and Jason tells Marcel he's happy and doesn't need a speech. Marcel looks pleased, and he starts handing out their animal spirits, and they're like these wooden statue type of things. Cynthia and Jason get the rabbit, who will scrape and burrow to get around obstacles and find its way home. Lucy and Joey get the wolf, who is a pack animal that mates for life. That one, no. That was weird to me.
I think because they've been together since high school is why they gave that to them.
I hate it. They are so toxic.
This is what I'm saying. Like, if there had been 2 couples instead of 4 couples, and we really could have had like an in-depth arc for them, I think it would have been a lot more satisfying.
Agreed. Jennifer and Shane get the honeybee, who is committed, and although it flies from flower to flower, it returns to the hive. Ronnie and Dave get the ass, the donkey, stubborn and immovable, who bears the burden of others, but when it's moving, nothing can stop it. I was like, that is romantic.
Did not like that one. I think this was supposed to be a joke because Dave the whole time was joking about how they were all going to get awesome animals because they've paid to be there. So he was like, obviously, they're going to give us like the eagle and the lion. And then for them to get a stupid one, I think was supposed to be funny.
The ass, the honeybee, the rabbit. Yeah.
And then for the rest of the trip, the couples get to enjoy the island. And they finally get to do jet skis and get on boats and swim and do whatever they want. There's no more programming.
Dave and Ronnie get a call from their sons who tell them Grandpa Jim let them watch Jaws and eat candy. They hand the phone to their grandpa, who's at the home improvement store with the kids, and Kevin, the little boy, is pooping in the fake toilet. He's graduated from peeing to pooping. This is a fun fact, but Grandpa Jim is played by Vince Vaughn's actual father.
Wow. Oh, that's cute. And then during the credits, we see a montage of the couples all having fun on the rest of their trip. And that's the end.
Yay.
Yay.
This is a very summery movie to watch.
Mm-hmm. It makes me want to go on vacation.
Me too. And I know that I was overanalyzing it the whole time when it's just meant to be like a silly comedy. Although I do think that they could do comedy better, but it's okay. It was still a fun watch.
They could, and they are. And I would like to say, I should have said this at the beginning, but I think that we are entering a new era of rom-coms. I had this realization the other night. And they're better than ever. I think we're like about to enter like a new 2003. I'm going to call it.
Okay, what's the best rom-com that you've seen lately? Or what makes you think this?
I wrote a list.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because I was just thinking last night, I was like, there are so many rom-coms that have come out. And they've come out in like a big way with like a lot of marketing and the way that rom-coms don't come out anymore. So we had Fall Guy. I don't know if you saw that. It's the Emily Blunt movie.
Yep, that was cute.
It was really cute. And then Anyone But You.
Yes.
Which I just started. So good. Wait, no, sorry. Anyone But You is the Sydney Sweeney movie, right?
Yes, you're thinking of The Idea of You.
Yes, that's the one I have next. The Idea of You, which is the Anne Hathaway one. And then I also just saw The Challengers, the Zendaya movie.
Yeah, that one was so good. Not a rom-com exactly, but I do think that it was marketed like it was one, and then it kind of turned that on its head.
But there is like a romantic storyline, whereas like we don't see a lot of movies in theaters that are like, come see these people fall in love in the preview, you know? We don't see that a lot anymore. And it's starting to come back, I feel like. I love it.
Yeah, I actually agree with you because I have another recommendation to watch Turtles All the Way Down. It's a John Green movie adaptation. It's so good, so cute, and if you like high school coming-of-age movie rom-com type of things that also deal with some serious stuff but leave you feeling good at the end, highly recommend.
Is it sad? Okay, if you have to think about it, then it's safe.
It's not sad to where you won't like want to watch it.
Okay, I'm thinking like John Green, The Fault in Our Stars, you know?
No, not like that.
Okay, I would like that. Anyway, it just makes me excited. I'm like, whoa, there's all these like, not girly, but like they're not action movies, really. They're not Marvel movies. They're not the big explosion Top Gun movies, like the ones that have been huge in theaters for the last 5 years. This is not that. And they have still been huge. Like The Idea of You was huge. Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney was huge. Fall Guy with Emily Blunt was really cute.
Yeah, and I think you said something about Barbie or the Eras Tour movie or something where you were talking about how now the buying power of women is actually being taken seriously. And I agree with that. I think studios are realizing, oh, we don't have to just make movies for men anymore. We can make some movies that gear towards women and they'll like it.
They'll still do well. Yeah. They're like still big enough to put in theaters or to like have a big, you know, Amazon debut or whatever.
Yep.
I'm loving it.
Me too. And that's why we have our podcast. We can talk about all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know if there's anything recent that you guys have seen that you want us to cover. We would love to do that.
Well, thank you so much for listening.
If you liked this episode, consider leaving us a 5-star rating and a good review, and follow us on Instagram at WhatWe'reWatchingPod. We love talking to you guys over there.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye!